let me move on, shall we? Being the Renaissance man that I am, and being the Renaissance audience that you are. Put a few more topics out there, then we'll go to the phones. Just to remind everybody, yesterday I made a huge point about these trials that are going to involve these terrorists. And I asked, what are the rules going to be? Oh, perhaps you've heard people repeat that. That's fine. What are the rules going to be? Here's what I said exactly. Cut 1-8, go. What are the rules of these civil trials? Are they established criminal procedures? Established precedent? From the Supreme Court down? From tradition? What are the rules going to be in these trials? And why won't anyone discuss it? Clearly, they were not read their Miranda rights. Clearly, they were interrogated in ways we don't interrogate domestic common criminals. Clearly, they didn't have a speedy trial as compelled by the Constitution. And the reason is simple. Because at time of war, these are prisoners of war, and in their case, unlawful enemy combatants who are detained specifically because they are a threat, collectively, to the survival of this nation. So they are intentionally segregated from the criminal justice system, as the courts have ruled in the past they should be, in compliance with international law and American precedent. So now to take them and cram them into the civil justice system, that is our civilian courts, and then say, okay, we're going to start all over now. We'll start all over with what? Do they have a right to face certain witnesses on the battlefield? I mean, how's this supposed to work exactly? Has Mr. Holder figured this out? Has Mr. Obama figured this out? Has anybody figured this out? And where the hell are the journalists? Why don't they ask the question? So Goober Lindsey Graham, the Goob, there he was with Holder at a hearing today in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, hat-tipped Freedom's Lighthouse. Goober Lindsey Graham picks up the Levin challenge and questions Holder. Here's some of the back and forth. Cut 2, go.
If bin Laden were caught tomorrow, would it be the position of this administration that he would be brought to justice?
He would certainly be brought to justice, absolutely.
Where would you try him?
Well, we'd go through our protocol, and we'd make the determination about where he should appropriately be tried.
Would you try him? Why would you take him someplace different than KSM?
Well, that might be the case. I don't know. I'd have to look at all of the evidence, all of the. Well, he's been indicted. He's been indicted already.
Does it matter if you use the law enforcement theory or the enemy combatant theory in terms of how the case would be handled?
Well, I mean, bin Laden's an interesting case in that he's already been indicted in federal court. We have cases against him.
Right. Well, where would you put him?
It would depend on how.
Well, let me ask you this question. Okay, let me ask you this. Let's say we capture him tomorrow. When does custodial interrogation begin in his case? If we captured bin Laden tomorrow, would he be entitled to Miranda warnings at the moment of capture?
Again, I'm not. That all depends. I mean,
well, it does not depend. If you're going to prosecute anybody in civilian court, our law is clear that the moment custodial interrogation occurs, the defendant, the criminal defendant, is entitled to a lawyer and to be informed of their right to remain silent. The big problem I have is that you're criminalizing the war. That if we caught bin Laden tomorrow, we have mixed theories and we couldn't turn him over to the CIA, the FBI, or military intelligence for an interrogation on the battlefield, because now we're saying that he is subject to criminal court in the United States, and you're confusing the people fighting this war.
He's exactly right, and it's actually worse. Do you know what this administration is doing? It's criminalizing the war, and it's criminalizing politics. It's criminalizing both. Going after the attorneys that worked at the Justice Department in the Bush administration and gave advice to the CIA and their interrogators on what they could and couldn't do with detainees is criminalizing politics. Threatening interrogators is criminalizing the war. Threatening threatening people who disagree with you with criminal prosecution. Now, Lindsey Graham, Goober, is exactly right. What do you do when you capture these guys now? We have no idea. And after the fact, decisions going to be made by some leftists at the Justice Department on whether they go in that line over there for the military commissions or over in that line over there for federal courts when the Attorney General himself can't explain which. But even beyond custody, whether or not you read Miranda rights, I reassert my position. What is going to go on in the courtroom? What are the rules? Are they going to be tried like common criminals or differently? And if differently, we don't have any other rules. That's the point. We don't have any other rules to apply to subjects who are prosecuted in our federal court system. There are no other rules. The fifth column, the commander-in-chief of the fifth column is the commander-in-chief of the United States. Hey, the Criminal Front Group, Media Matters, write that down, repeat it, and email it to all your left-wing friends. Please. The word needs to get out.